Ash Davenport.
Thank you.
NineDots Wedding Photographer of the Year.
Wow.
How's that feel?
Pretty unbelievable, really. I never expected to get this, so it's yeah, pretty amazing.
Congrats. So we first met on the first ever NineDots workshop.
Yeah,
2015.
Yep.
And it's been a bit of a whirlwind for you since then.
Yeah, I turned up knowing how to use my camera in the green mode. The little green thing, you press the button and it works. And I thought everyone did that.
And you're still doing the same. And it's paying off.
Yeah, who would go into anything else?
We won't tell anyone. That. Yeah. And since then, how many weddings?
I just hit 100 a few weddings ago. So yeah, 100 and something.
Yeah, and also just gone like full time about 6 months ago.
Yes, January the 1st was my first full time day of being full-time wedding photographer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, but people talk about going full-time, but technically before that you had 2 full-time jobs, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I had a 9 to 5 job, and then I had a 6 till 2 job.
Yeah.
Which was interesting and very hard, but
yeah.
I enjoyed it. So it was kind of like it wasn't too big of a deal, really.
Yeah, nice. We'll talk about that a bit later on. First, I want to talk a bit more about awards. Obviously, you've just won this lovely shiny piece of beauty, the NineDots Wedding Photographer of the Year. So how does that particular award feel, and how do you reckon it's going to affect you as a photographer and on the business side of things?
So to get this is actually like, we were just speaking then about kind of like where I started, where I first met you, but that is genuinely where it started for me. And to kind of win this goes like full circle in the whole, like, my first day of thinking about wedding photography was being on that first workshop. So to get the first ever one of these is a bit surreal and a bit bonkers, really, but like it's unbelievable. But I am really competitive inside. Yeah. So so to win it feels great, but you kind of then think of like, so how can you do better next year? How can you how can you move it to the next level, and what next? And my mind just doesn't stop thinking like that, really. People have different views about awards, and I think they're great. I think there's nothing wrong with them if you know why you're entering them, and if you know why you're entering them, if you're winning them, then that's great. But you've got to have a purpose for entering, and if your purpose is to satisfy that inner competitive edge in you, then that's great. And if you win, then that's great. Or if it's about marketing, then make sure you shout about it. But don't. I love awards because, as I say, I'm competitive, but also because I think it just shows credibility to future brides and grooms. Do they just see that accolade? And sometimes that's important, and sometimes it's not. But again, I think it's thinking about who is your ideal client, and are they interested in that? And if they are, then go for it. If they're not, then don't go for it. Yeah.
But you think in general, because you've got this competitive spirit, it's a good thing. It's good for you.
Yeah, I need it
to be challenging yourself and to be consistently feeling like your work is up there and relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of sport when I was young. I still do a lot of sport now. I don't compete anymore, so this is kind of my way of satisfying that little bit of competitive edge. But at the end of the day, I just like making great pictures. Yeah. And if someone says to me, "That's a great picture," I feel proud in myself. Never mind to shouting about it or marketing. It just feels good to me. It just feels good inside, and you go, "Yeah, I'm all right. I've done something today that's good."
But then do you find at the same time you kind of that you win something, and then you're able to just put it to one side and keep making more pictures and better pictures, or rather than going, look at me, I've just won this, so now everyone should just think I'm the best.
Yeah, I think it's hard because if you enter an award and you win it, I think that what you can't do then is then go, right, how do I win that same award with the same picture, as in like create a different picture but the same picture. So it's once you've won an award, for me, it's like that whatever that is gone. I now need to create something new. So it keeps me honest in striving for just to create something different, whether that's for the bride and groom, whether it's composition or light or moment, or actually if it's just for me. I'm happy with where I sit in that little spectrum of where that is.
Nice. Sounds like you got awards in quite a healthy place in terms of personal and business wise.
I mean, there's loads I don't win. And I'm cool.
That's what they say. No one ever sees.
Yeah,
for every 2 or 3 that you win, no one sees the 300 that you entered and just fell by the wayside.
No, of course I do.
Yeah.
But I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Cool. So obviously we talked a couple of minutes ago about the fact we met at a workshop, at the NineDots workshop, really. So you did that workshop and you had your own photography business at the time, but soon after that you became an associate of Mickey Photography, right? Yeah,
it was a couple of months after. And I think, I mean, when I first went on this workshop, I didn't know any of the 4 of you were. I just saw these images. I just saw these images and go like, wow, like this is unreal. Like, what is this? This isn't photography. This is like, I don't know, it's like superimposed all these things, and I was like, I need to learn how this all works. So I went on the workshop and was like mind blown from like second one to the end of the course. I was just like totally mind blown. But something was ignited in me that wanted to learn more, and it was the first time I was really felt that since school. Just like I just have to learn how this works, whether it's techniques or just kind of like ways to think and. Where to kind of like put your mind when you walk into the wedding day, so the rainbow chihuahua and all that type of thing. I was that rainbow chihuahua. And soon after that, obviously we were all posted into the Facebook group, kind of like, this is our latest work, what do you think? And Mick looked at that work, I think, and saw that a lot of what I was doing and my style was close or heading in a direction of where his style was at that time. And he was looking to expand his business. So it was great that he was wanting to expand his business, looking for somebody new and somebody that was wanting to learn. And I think just our paths just like crossed, and he just kind of like took a massive gamble and just said, do you want to be part of what I'm doing? I was like, well, why would I say no? Yeah. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And from then it's just been a roller coaster. The whole journey has just been a roller coaster, but an amazing one. And yeah, so that whole process now has left me to go full time now. So it's
amazing.
It's gone well.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. And obviously Mick's moved into videography at that time. So you're the lead photographer now of Mickey Studios. That's how so it's so good.
Yeah, it's bonkers to think about it. In 4 years, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. So let's just go back a minute and talk about workshops. So I'd say, so that's 4 years basically, isn't it? Since you did that first workshop, which is. It's quite a short period of time to get to the level that you've reached with your work and with recognition of your work. And how much of that do you put down to your own drive and ambition and determination? How much of that do you put down to doing the right training at the right time and being mentored by Mick?
I think that you can't just say it's one thing. It's not just a workshop. It's not just mentoring with Mick, and it's not just my new cameras, my new Sony cameras. I think it's a combination of everything, and we talk about this a lot when we have mentoring sessions. And it's about putting in that 1% every day, whether it's 1% in learning something new, putting it into your website, doing some more SEO. Or just learning about your kit, or being fit and healthy. It's not just workshops or mentoring. It's everything. You've got to be doing everything. If you want to be successful, I think you've got to be a bit of a master in every single area of your business. It's, accounting, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to know where your brand is. You've got to know who your ideal client is. And these are things that when you pick up a camera, you just want to shoot. You just want to be a photographer. Is actually being a photographer and holding a camera in your hand is probably only 5% of actually what we do. There's 95% of business, and nobody teaches you that, so you have to learn, and it's hard. But I would say that mentoring is, for me, has really been successful in sitting down with Mick after I've shot a wedding, after I've edited it, after I've done the slideshow. We literally look at everything and go like, and he's hard.
I know.
He's hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, why were you there? What were you thinking? Why? Tell me what you were thinking to take that shot. What does that shot mean to you? What were you trying to do? Because you didn't do it. You're not in the right place, because this could have been a better image. Maybe you need to edit it in a different way. So there's been constant rounds of iteration of that mentoring, and we do it. When I was working full time, it was not unusual to be sat on the phone at midnight with Mick. Next image. No. Can I go to bed? No. We've got another 50 images to go. But it's so important to have that, and it's really worked for me. I think if you're going to go into mentoring, there's a couple of things to kind of think about. Is mentoring is not about being a clone of the person you're going to go and have mentoring with. it's about kind of like, and I think you've got to understand what it is from mentoring you want to get out of. You can't just go, right, mentoring, who can do mentoring? That person, I'm going to have mentoring with them. You've got to go, I think you've got to go to that person and say, there's something I'm really missing in my business or my photography or how I think, and I want you to teach it because I think you do that well. So I want you to help me draw out of myself what I can, where is my 100%? It's not about, going to a photographer saying, I want to edit in the same style as you, show me what mountain do I need to stand on to take that picture.
Yeah.
That's not mentoring.
Yeah.
Mentoring's about finding the best version of who you are. And to be honest, I think Mick and I have often spoken about this, is having one mentor for a long period of time has lots of benefits and negatives. And I'm now starting to hit the negatives with Nick. But you kind of you learn each other so well. You kind of know exactly what they're going to say before they even say it. And Mick
that little voice becomes in your head when you're actually shooting.
So it actually becomes like, okay, I think I've taken mentoring with this person as far as I can take it. And now I want to go and kind of move it in a slightly different way, whether that's finding somebody else or even somebody outside the industry.
Yeah, but presumably it's helped you, well, not helped, but the fact that Mick's drifted off into Videoland and has allowed you to kind of take that place as lead photographer of Mickey Studios, presumably that's helped you come out of that, not shadow, I don't know what the right word is, but do you feel more like your own photographer now in that sense because of that change? Yeah,
it was never intentional, like that feeling of being a shadow or being a junior to Mick. It's just natural that he was Mick Shah. He is. And but so since Mick's been going into video now, it's great because we work together a lot. So that mentoring is now not so much on after the event. It's kind of like we have mentoring sessions all the day. And to be fair, he'll say it himself, but there's elements where I can teach him stuff.
Definitely.
Not so much in video, obviously, or in photography, but just in kind of how to think, mindset, and different areas of the business, like whether it be SEO or finance. But yeah, it's great that we now get to actually just work together, and it's not about shooting weddings in completely different venues. It's actually generally we're at the same venue, actually just messing around like lads, like friends would.
Yeah, I mean that's important, isn't it, as well, because your background in life and in work is totally different to, well, everybody's background is different to Mick's, but it's totally different to Mick's background. Mick is drummer, pastor, photographer, videographer. Yours is more corporate, sport. So I'm a big believer that everybody's got something. Everybody's got things they need to learn. Everybody's got things they can teach. So the fact that you're able to bring that into Mickey Studios, and Mick brings what he brings, makes it kind of a really strong team, really, because you've got your skills and he's got his skills, and you're able to bring them together. And
I think this year we've both learned where we both excel in certain areas of the business, and we've now started just to say, look, I'm going to do this way because I can generally do it the way that needs to be done better. We've both learned where we excel in different areas, so it kind of works now for us.
And you obviously the two of you recently spoke at Elevate conference as well together. And that was mainly around business, right? There was more on the business side or the mindset side of it. And you mentioned earlier the whole 1% theory. A lot of it was about that, wasn't it? Where you can make gains really.
So the whole premise of the talk was 10 lessons. If we could go back in time and teach ourselves 10 lessons, what would those 10 lessons be? And it didn't really matter whether you were a photographer or a videographer or whether you'd been in business 1 year, 10 years or 15 years. Generally, they kind of stretched boundaries and experience. And it was really enlightening to do, because when you start to write something like this, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you start to write a talk, you end up really going deep inside your mind and kind of, okay, I actually feel better now that I think I know this better than what I thought I did.
That's true.
Because you kind of train yourself into thinking it. So the 10 lessons we came up with, we didn't sit down and go, let's write 10 lessons. They just kind of these were the things that we really resonated with, that really helped us. Mick learnt them, Mick obviously went through them and he made those mistakes and learnt from them. But the beauty is, he then prevented me from making those same mistakes. So it's a system that we've got a proven record that it works, because he kind of showed me that path. But the talk really just goes through examples of those, and I guess I've got some of the I was the guinea pig, I guess.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier on, we mentioned earlier on that you've recently gone full-time, technically. You've not got another job anymore, as well as photography. So, and a lot of people that's kind of the first big goal you have as a photographer is to go full-time. And it's not going to be, I guess there's no quick short answer to this, but if you could give the people who have probably got jobs and want to get rid of those jobs and be full-time photographers a couple of tips on at what point that's going to happen and how they can potentially get there, what would you say?
I think it's really difficult because I think you've got to get that work-life balance right from the early point, because and I fell foul of this a few times. But if you are editing at 2:00, then things are going to things are going to happen that you don't want them to.
Yeah.
So the thing I would say is just kind of get the balance right. Work out if you live with somebody or have a family, you've got to get everybody's buy-in to that. But I think you've just got to communicate to whoever you live with, or your family, your friends, that there's a goal. The goal's going to happen on a certain type of date, or when you hit a certain point of bookings, or when you hit a certain revenue, and you've got to get their buy-in that everything you do is to help to get to that point. And then
it's going to be a couple of tricky years in the build.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I did 3 years of 30 weddings a year while I was having 35 weddings a year while I was having a full-time job, and having a daughter in the middle of that as well. So yeah, I've got an amazing family, I've got amazing support, and I've got an amazing wife who kind of said, look, I know where your goal is. Yeah. I can see the goal getting closer, so I'm going to give you some support. Yeah. I'm going to bear with it, and at the end of it, things will feel better, and that's the place we're in now. It's great.
Nice. But in terms of the financial side of it, did you wait till a point that the business was financially able to support the change, or did you have a bit of a leap of faith in that the extra time you'd be able to give to the business would enable you to increase the revenue and increase your own profits? Yeah.
My personal circumstances were I was in the last part of my 3 years. In the last year, I was actually contracting, so I was on a contract that kept rolling, and it came to its end. The project finished, and I was kind of shown the door very nicely. But that was the push I needed. The business was there. The cash was I'd got a healthy amount of cash just saved up that I could give it a year, and that was what I wanted. I wanted to give it a whole year with some security. I've got some cash around me that if anything happened, things aren't going to start to fall down. And I'm still in that mind where, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I'll go back to work, and hopefully it won't happen.
Hopefully not, though.
No, hopefully not. But
I know my big goal always, because I've been full time now since 2011, and my first goal every year is to make sure I get to do this for another year. Yeah. That's it. That's the first real goal, is to earn enough so that I don't have to go back and do a real job.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you used to build Rolls Royces or something?
Yeah, that was it. I used to drive Rolls Royces.
Yeah. But you used to work for Rolls Royce.
Yeah, I did. I worked in purchasing, so my job was to buy components from the supply chain for then the factories to actually build the engines.
Okay, and that on the face of it sounds like it has nothing to do with taking pictures of weddings.
Absolutely.
But do you feel like having worked those kind of real jobs has benefited you as a wedding photographer?
Yeah, I think I said it earlier on, is when you're a wedding photographer, or any type of photographer, or any type of job really, for us as photographers, I honestly believe that holding a camera is actually a really small amount of time. The rest of it is about business, whether it's marketing or getting out and seeing suppliers or sales or whatever it might be. And having worked for Rolls-Royce for nearly 15 years, a lot of that just directly translates into this business. Whether it be setting goals, objectives, and then how to achieve those goals, whether it's kind of how to manage money or how to manage finances, or how to buy, how to negotiate. And people struggle with that, mainly because they've just not had experience of it. And experience, you learn a lot of this for experience. I fell into working for Rolls-Royce. I was never wanted to work there. I was never interested in purchasing. I just fell into it, but just naturally kind of did all right in it, just because I just wanted to learn. But yes, I think it directly translates to having worked in a business to actually then running a business yourself.
It's becoming more and more important now as well to understand the business side of wedding photography than ever, because we're hearing it all the time now. Like, bookings are trickier to come by, inquiries are harder to get. You know, I'm fortunate that I get a lot of inquiries. I know Mickey Photography gets a lot of inquiries as well, but it's definitely harder to pick up the volume than it used to be. I mean, do you feel like the industry is more difficult than it has been?
I think it's probably hard for me to say because I've only been in it 4 years.
I think it's changed a lot in that 4 years, though.
But I think it's constantly changing. And I think some people get hung up on the fact that it's quite easy to say it's changed since last year. Well, it probably has, and it's changed since the year before that. It's just never stopped changing. Yeah. And if you sat down now with the guy that was shooting in the 80s or even 90s or even 2000s when they were on film and say, you know, why are you still shooting on film? It's because they just stopped changing. They stopped evolving. Yeah. And they just stood still. Even if you stand still for 6 months or a year, you're behind. Yeah. So if you're not thinking about what the next thing is, the next thing isn't Instagram. Yeah. The next thing is the next one. And the next thing is not a different lens or a different camera body. It's the next thing, and you've got to work out what that is and just stay on top of what. Yeah. Because we're getting older, and our brides and grooms are actually getting younger. Yeah,
relatively.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you've got to work out is how do you still become relatable to people that are not in your age group, in age range. Because at the moment, give or take it, I kind of feel relatable to my brides and grooms. Yeah. But in the future, I'm going to be 60 and my brides are going to be getting ready and they're going to be 20. Yeah. So how am I still going to feel relatable to them? And I've often said it a few times is the gap between the wedding photographer and the bride and groom is so important. If you don't manage that, you can have a problem.
I mean, do you see yourself shooting weddings when you're 60? Because you mentioned a minute ago.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. I think it all comes down to do I still feel happy? I think I'll always be connected. I think from now on in, I think I'll always be connected to photography. Yeah. Whether it's weddings or not, I genuinely don't know. Yeah. But providing I'm happy and people are still prepared to pay and to book, then I'll be still doing it.
Talking Yeah, me too.
If it puts food on the table.
Exactly. Right. So now I want some quick tips off you.
Right.
So, because we're talking about business, let's start with business. So, couple of top tips for managing your business on a day-to-day basis.
For me, it's about setting yourself an agenda, and it sounds really corporate, but this is one of the things that I learned. When I was at Rolls-Royce, we had a standard agenda, a standard 4 weekly rolling week. So we always knew it was in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Within that week, certain things happened, whether it would be certain meetings or certain reviews or whatever it was. And I kind of taken exactly that same thought and put it into my business now. So day 1 might be blogging or editing or culling, and the next day it might be about getting awards submitted or whatever it might be. But just kind of create some standard working practice, so you don't wake up in the morning and go, what do I do? Yeah. I've got no editing, but what do I do?
Just totally randomly work that day.
Yeah, or I've got so much editing to do, I'm just going to edit for the rest of my life. And then you just kind of like, I mean, even if I've got 10 weddings on the backlog, I'll take a day and just not edit because I need to do finances or I need to do accountancy. But just because and it doesn't have to be fixed, it doesn't have to be rigid.
So you don't do it like Monday's always this, Tuesday's always this, Wednesday's always this, or is there a bit of a pattern?
There is a bit of that to it, right? But I'll never get held up if it doesn't work, and I change it around a bit. But yeah, creating that thing of that standard agenda, that standard diary management I just find really important. For me, being really disorganised, if I don't do that, I'll just play on Candy Crush all day.
Candy Crush. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
But so I suppose that is it kind of goes hand in hand with what you said a minute ago. In that, if you manage your time that way, everything's always bubbling away. Instead of your editing piles up, so you do 2 weeks of solid editing, and suddenly you've not answered any inquiries, you've not done any emails, you've not done any admin, you've not done any kind of the rest of the business because you've focused too much on one thing. Yeah. So you find it helps you manage that, especially when it gets into the thick of it in the summer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Different hats.
So editing you mentioned, because I know you outsource editing. So do you outsource the end? Because you must do some editing because you're talking about it, but do you outsource? How much of it do you outsource?
So I normally day one post the wedding on a weekday. I will cull the whole wedding, and I'll cull it down to 1,500 images, and send that off. to Image Salon. I asked them to do a further cull. So the cull is generally like there's 6 or 7 pictures of the same moment, just when I've been tapping away. They're all good enough to be included, but I kind of asked them to do a final cull down to 700 or 800. They do a base edit on all of those. They'll come back. I check the rejects, just a very quick scan, because I don't think I could ever let go. I check every image, re-edit some pictures. I pick my blog post. So I find it really difficult to understand how people don't have time to edit. Don't have time to blog, because I pick my images of blogging as I'm going through the edit. Because you made blogging part of your workflow instead of an afterthought. Yeah, so it's just 5-star for that. That's a blog, and that's how it's pretty straightforward for me now. So
once it gets back from Image Salon, you'll then add some edits to certain images because they've just done the base. Yeah, so they do a very, very good, for me, they do a very, very good base edit. A majority of the images I don't touch. Sometimes I just re-straighten or kind of a small crop. But if I want to spend longer on an image and I think there's something in it that needs a bit more time, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those images in a bit, I'll just say, I'm happy to spend an hour on an image if I think it needs it. Nice. So with editing, I was sticking with the two top tips thing. If you could give a couple of top tips for editing.
So for me, it's all about, I'm really conscious about the edges of the frames. So for me, I often will recrop anything that comes back from the Image Salon that I'm not happy about, where it's got like half a head in it, or the shoulder's not quite right, or the only way to do that for really, really quickly is just to crop. I think I would say try and watch the edges of the frames to make sure that your eyes kind of drawn to the most important bit. I think I would say that's the main tip for me for editing. The second tip would be that is just make sure that the area of the frame you want people's eyes to be drawn to is just like the brightest. And it's a really basic thing. It's been said so many times, but sometimes you can kind of forget it because in your mind you know what that image is all about because you shot it. Whereas to somebody who was not there, who's not been part of the wedding, just to look at an image, sometimes it's got to be within a microsecond. You've got to know what that picture is all about.
Okay, last couple of top tips. We've talked about customer service already. Yeah. Are you kind of get the booking and turn up on the wedding day, or is there stuff happen in between?
No, it's quite subtle but quite intentional. So the first thing we do is kind of like get together on social media, whether it's whatever they use as their social media platform that they're active on, is engage with them on that, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, or whatever it might be. So just feel like we're part of their mindset, and they can kind of like generally just see some things that we're doing. That really helps. I think that's an important one for us. But the second thing, I think the most important thing, is we offer a pre-wedding shoot for every couple, and we don't do a wedding without having done the pre-wed. So we meet them on that pre-wed. It's generally not much more than an hour and a half, but at that pre-wed, it's not just about giving them 60, 70 or 100 pictures. We kind of give them just like a handful, a large handful. But it's about building that connection with them, their story, understanding their wedding, but also their friends and family. So we kind of build the trust up between us as a unit, but also their wider unit. Yeah. Just like giving them, because if you're my mum and dad, they kind of always ask me, "Can I have that picture? Can you stand there and have a picture?" Yeah. And I say no, I don't want a picture taken. So just giving them a portrait, and just a really nice portrait where they're looking straight down the lens on a pre-wedding shoot, their mum and dads generally come up and give me a hug. Right. It's like, because I want that picture. Yeah. And you took that picture for me, so I'm thankful. Yeah. So that would be another top tip for me is work. And pre-weds aren't possible for everybody to do because for how your business works. But for us, that's one of the most important things we do. Yeah. And even this little thing you kind of mentioned there is realizing that you're working for more than just the bride and groom. You're working to please more than just those two people. Yeah, they're our client and everything else, but there's more at stake. There's parents or family relationships, or knowing which pictures they're going to want years down the line as well. So we would generally interview them, and it's not called an interview, and we don't make it as that obvious, but we interview them on the pre-wedding shoot about their wedding and who's important. Right. Find out how the dynamics of their family work. Yeah. It's not obvious, but all those little questions you just kind of like log away and go, right, okay, whatever it might be about gran or auntie or mum and dad is, and then you give them that picture that they've said that they might have hinted about, and they just love you.
Nice. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do now is the 15 images that won you the title of NineDots Wedding Photographer of the Year. You're going to talk us through them.
Sure.
So let's take a look at them on the here.
So yeah, I love this picture. It was taken in a marquee. They've got this huge like drinks fountain that basically was just full of like really strong liquor, and everyone was like drinking underneath it. And I was taking lots of pictures, but there was just this one girl who kind of like really going for it. I think she was quite drunk already. But I just stood up I just got really high, got my camera really high up, and with the D850, you got the little flippy screen, so I could kind of see where I was meant to be. My hands, I was like balancing, kind of like taking a picture, couldn't see what I was focusing on. And yeah, this is the final picture. It's probably one of my favourite pictures of the year, actually.
It's a great moment. Much in the edit on this one?
No, just quite a simple crop, actually.
Right.
This was one of those happy mistakes. I didn't actually mean for this to happen like in the way it really did. But obviously it's raining. There was a little fountain that was kind of like tiny. But the bride and groom were really into photography and really wanted a nighttime picture. So I think they're lit there's one flash from behind. There's a video light over his right shoulder. But I'd been taking some inspiration from you, I think. I was like gelling all of these lights. I've got lights everywhere. And it just wasn't working. So I was like, I'm just going to stuff them all and turn them all off. But I'd left one with the blue gel on it facing this wall by total accident. And the blue bounced off the wall and kind of created this. I think I brought the blue back up a little bit because it was quite fainted, but there's obviously, I think I put a flash behind the fountain as well. But
so it's raining and there's a fountain.
Yeah.
And then you've got this happy accident of a blue gel bouncing off
this random wall, which I turned all the other colours off and just left the blue on. I don't know why. I generally don't know what I'm doing with my kit half the time. But,
I love a happy accident. I think a happy accidents only come from experimenting, though. So you call it a happy accident, but it comes from a space of experimentation. So
yeah, it's like creating.
You were gifted with the accident.
Yeah, you don't. There's no such thing as luck. You've just created an opportunity where something good can happen.
Yeah, and have you ever tried since this picture to bounce a blue light off a wall?
No, I haven't. But it wouldn't work out how I wanted it.
Exactly. Yeah, amazing. And what about what kind of direction did you give the couple just to stand there and kiss? Or
they were getting wet through, so I was just like, quickly, just get together clothes. I can't really remember, but they were like, we're getting wet, and I was like, yeah, well, let's just take some pictures.
Nice.
And to be fair, this was that fine rain.
It soaked you through?
Well, no, it was like really fine. It was like misty. And when I took the picture, when I looked at the back of the camera, I was like, it doesn't look like it's raining as much as what's in the actual picture. Yeah. So it wasn't actually it looks really torrential, but actually wasn't. It was actually quite fine rain.
Well, and so you brought that in Lightroom afterwards?
The Nikon files, man, they're really good. This is pretty special. The Lake Como, I mean, it's hard to take a bad photo around Lake Como, but Zara and Robbie we had 5 minutes with them. I'm all drawn to composition, not much more than composition is my first thing I kind of like gravitate towards. It's not really light. So that's where one area that Mick and I differentiate between, because he's very much about light, whereas I'm just more composition. And I just saw this, it looked perfectly symmetrical, it looked very picturesque. And the only direction we gave is just gone practice your first dance, just gone do what you do on a first dance. And they were dancing away down there, and it was just like, yeah, this is great. A few things have cloned out around the edges, but generally it's not much has happened in there.
Okay, so a bit of cloning, but then it's left pretty natural after that. Yeah. Cool.
Always a crop. So this is another happy accident that this wasn't at all staged or planned. But I was taking a silhouette in the window, which is towards the right hand side at Dorford Hall. Taking a silhouette of a bride, I think, of the bridesmaid putting some lipstick on. And Ellie just popped her head through this little door with the dress bit in there. And for me, this has everything. It has dark.
She's the bride?
Yeah, she's the bride. Yeah. It has dark and light. It has the thirds in horizontal and vertical. It's all straight. So I was like, in my head, I could just see this picture. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly the picture I want to take. and she's beckoning in all of the bridesmaids to do something, makeup related, I think. And I was just clicked away, click, and I looked at the back of the camera, it was just black.
Oh no!
Because I was shooting some silhouettes. I was like, it's black. It's black. But the Nikon files, kind of like. Yeah. So yeah, it was. I managed to recover it all, and it turned out all right.
That's amazing.
So this is back in Lake Como. So Zon and Robbie were just obviously about to cut their cake, and I think for every this venue you get like a bottle of champagne when you cut the cake, and Robbie being Robbie he's like a really great character, and it's just like, I think he's going to do something. He's not just going to open a bottle of champagne and just drink it or cut the cake. So I kind of saw this potentially happening. So I think we've got two lights either side of them set up as two speed lights, and just literally just shot through the moment. And there's quite a few frames of them both just having fun. But
amazing. So totally unstaged, no direction. Yeah. You just preempted the fact that he was a bit of a character who was probably going to do something like this, because it looks completely natural. I don't think you could direct reactions and facial expressions like this at all. But you didn't tell him where to stand or anything. It's totally the natural moment.
When you see the raw file, there's actually the cake's below this, and I've cropped it so you've taken out all the distractions of the cake, and I think there might be even some people standing around. But there's all the people standing around as watching them about to cut the cake. There just happens to be a champagne bottle there.
Right.
And I was just like, yeah, let's go for it.
Because some people. The only reason I'm asking is some people will look at that and go, well, you told him to shake it up and pop it, and you told him where to stand, but it's just totally natural.
If you knew Robbie, you'd go, oh, it just looks like Robbie's having fun.
Yeah, but you must be even more proud of that because it's a totally unstaged, natural moment that you just preempted and pre-visualized. Amazing.
So this is actually quite similar to the previous image. This was shot in Bordeaux in France, and it rained all day. You know, it doesn't rain in France when you go to France, does it? It does on the day I go there. And it was just there were spells of really nice weather, but the ceremony got rained off. We had to do it indoors. And it came around to speeches, and the sky was, you could see the sky. And I was like, oh, if only I could get the bride and groom out for a portrait. But no, they were in the middle of speeches. I'd been floating around all around the room during the speeches, and for some strange reason I stepped back through these doors and just saw the sky, saw the symmetry, and kind of like saw it all. I took lots of pictures, but there was no moment, there was nothing, because he was delivering a speech. So I was going for some type of, can I get a silhouette with him turning round? And then when he finished the speech and Kimberly stood up and gave him a hug, I literally just ran back out, as quickly as I could. My camera broke, my lens broke on this wedding. Oh, wow. So I was stuck on 1.4, 35mm 1.4. It was just stuck on 1.4 the whole day. So in the south of France, even though it was raining, it was still really bright. Yeah. And my camera didn't focus anyway, so never mind being at 1.4. So it shot at 1.4, I think, and just went for it. And there's a bit of cloning, but yeah, it looks. I was happy with how it looked.
For me, the motto of that story is the picture needs a moment to be the picture. Like you saw the cleverness, you saw the composition and everything else, and you shot frames of it, but you weren't happy with it. And as soon as you realised you could get a moment in that frame you'd seen, you went back to it. Yeah.
So I think everybody talks about light, moment, composition, but that's not how my mind works. It looks more about composition, moment, and then light's the third thing. Yeah. And whether it's artificial light or natural light, light's the final one for me. Yeah. It's more about the moment of composition as a mix.
Yeah. What about editing on this one? Much? Apart from cloning?
Yeah, there's a bit of cloning takes place, but generally it's pretty much how it looks there.
Nice.
I think the sky's been brought out a bit more, but yeah.
Nice, I love it. I love the blue and orange interplay as well.
So this is where there is a bit more editing in this one, but this is in the Houses of Parliament in obviously London, and we were doing a wedding there. This is the gap between kind of like the main hall and I think it's where the Lords sit and the Commons sit. There's this pathway, and it was just so grand. It was unbelievable. And we have to take a picture of these guys in this such grand setting. But there was loads of people. The light wasn't great. So it was a sitting day for MPs. So the MPs were walking backwards and forwards, and I literally just got this person to say, "Look, just stop everybody from walking just for 2 minutes." And he was like, do you realise these are MPs? I was like, do you realise these are the bride and groom? So we did, and set my camera on a tripod. I think I'm on like a 24mm or something like this. So each one of these lights is a composite, so each light is a different frame. So there's probably about 15 to 20 pictures in this to make the final one. Flash from behind and obviously a flash from the front as well. But yeah,
amazing. So each individual statue is separately lit.
Yeah.
Separate frame and then Photoshop layers.
Yeah.
Amazing.
With one speed light running round. So you can set your camera to do take intervals.
Right.
So it's taking intervals every 2 seconds and it's like flash, 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 flash.
Crazy.
Me running around with MPs looking at me and who is this dude?
It's legendary. Amazing. Worth it though.
Yeah, happy with it.
The bride and groom must love it.
Yeah, they absolutely love it.
Sometimes it's really hard when you see really, really grand spaces to know what you can do with it and knowing you've got the skills of a composite to potentially pull out.
Yeah, it's having the skills, but it's also having the balls just to say, hang on, this is what I want to do. And it doesn't really matter who you're with or what the situation is, but this person was like, you can't stop MPs. And it's like, you can't stop the bride and groom. And they were like, oh yeah, too right, you can't. And that's how it was just my confidence disarmed the whole situation.
Right.
And they were fine with waiting a minute or so.
It is confidence, isn't it, of knowing that the image that you want to create, you're capable of creating and you know how to do it. And it's going to be it's a bit of a risk still. Don't
get me wrong. The confidence that I said out my mouth was nowhere inside the confidence that was in my head.
Yeah.
Simple image really. I just saw the sky dropping. If it's a silhouette, I think you told me this. If it's a silhouette, they can't just be doing a penguin pose. So Kenny and Abby Kenny's quite a big guy, and we'll see him in a minute. And there's another image of him. But he just picked Abby up and she just was flaying her legs around. I was like, perfect. Managed to get the whole of the wheel in as well. And so just a general dance floor picture. For dancing, I generally get really close to people on a 24mm or something like that, or even 20. And just love getting in close and in with the action. And I think I've got 4 lights just generally set up for the dance floor. This has had a fair bit of cloning on it, as you can probably tell, but it's not a composite. A lot of people thought it was a composite.
So several off-camera flashes, 4 off-camera flashes.
4, yeah.
And then a lot of dodging and burning and cloning to give it that contrast and make the black and draw attention to the arms and the faces.
This is one of those images that we talk about on our talk, because I never saw the potential in this image when I delivered it, or when I finished it, should I say. And Mick pulled me back and said, hang on, there's something a bit more special in this image if you spend a bit more time and think a bit more purposely about the edit, which was about cloning, dodging and burning. This was the final result, but actually the image that I was prepared to deliver, which was I thought was still great, but wouldn't have had the impact of this one. Who doesn't love a dad crying? But again, it was just I knew this was going to happen because I'd already spoken to the father of the groom, and he was already starting to well up. And I said to Tess, look, is he going to go or not? And she was like, more than likely. And I said, if he's going to go, are you going to go? She's like, absolutely. So again, just being in the right place at the right time. I found a spot. This wasn't a big room. Northbrook Park. If you've been there, you kind of know. In the bridal room, it's not great for light. There's a bed in the way. Moved the bed out the way just because I wanted space. But again, it hits all my buttons for composition, because obviously the straightness of the composition, the thirds, I just loved it.
Nice.
I felt quite pleased at this.
So you talked about the space. Did you tell her where to stand because you wanted this to be the background, or? Well,
the thing is, what you never know when a father and bride's going to walk in is, do they meet in the middle? Does he stand still? What happens? So I can't say I made them all stand exactly how this has all been played out, but
you knew that was your background.
Yeah,
for instance,
that was my background. And if they both moved into the white space, that'd been cool.
Still happy.
If Tess had moved to him, I'd have been like, no, but you know, it'd have still been a great picture. But it just so happens he started he just put his head into this is actually a door. It's a sliding door.
Yeah. So Dad was ready to walk in, and you said to the bride, "You stand there when he walks in." Yeah, that's the end of the direction, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the whole thing of using more senses than just your eyes, isn't it? And talking to people and understanding how people are going to be. And you've seen him earlier and knew he was an emotional guy, and you knew that this moment had this potential.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to one of the first images I really ever took in my first year, that with the bride in the mirror. This was her bridesmaid.
Oh, no
So
way.
the girl with the mirror that I took in my first year, she's behind the door. So it was kind of all like...
Everything full circle.
It was, two images, not the same, but very similar. And it was just like, almost the same again, it's just being in the right place at the right time. But I kind of saw this happening. The only way to get from where they were walking from, which was like down here, across to the top table, which is there, is to walk through this... to walk through the centre of the dance floor. So I've just got two flashes.
So it's not a first dance, because it looks like a first dance.
No,
this is bride room entrance.
This is, to be fair, yeah, so they're walking in, this is them walking in to come and sit down.
Right.
And I think I just felt I could take a bit more of a risk with this, because they weren't doing a first dance. So I just jumped up into the eaves of the... there's some back in balcony.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't safe, but this is at Ethan Palace. And yeah, I just thought, I wonder if they do anything, or even if they just walk through it, it might be a nice picture. But they did this, so it was like, it's a moment, composition, I like it. And I actually went back up there for the first dance, but set my camera up on a tripod down there on interval, so I was always taking the right picture, and did the same for the first dance, but they didn't
give you a better moment.
They didn't give me a better moment.
And have you lit the top table as well? Because it looks like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what kind of elevates it again for me, from that kind of good image to something that's had that little bit of extra thought in the storytelling.
So Kenny is one of the largest of life's characters, and there should be more of him in this world. But this wedding was in Montenegro, so it was beautiful, beautiful place, Montenegro. But again, whenever I go away on destinations, it rains. So it's absolutely pouring outside. And Kenny's getting ready, and he's putting on his bow tie. And I literally just jump on top. I think I'm on some type of table like this. And because he's so big, I'm so small, if you're looking up at somebody, it just looks really bad in a picture. Yeah. So I wanted to get high and look down at him. And he didn't see me jump up there. So I'm stood with my crotch at his eye level, and he opens his eyes and just sees my crotch, and he's like, "Whoa!" And that's the reaction.
No way.
So
you've been sticking your crotch in groom's faces ever since.
Ever since, and hopefully it's never turned out better than this one. But yeah, so he's literally, it's a genuine moment, but I've caused him to make that moment. So
yeah,
I just love it. Just love his reaction.
Amazing.
So this is the same couple from Kenny and Abby. They really loved the nighttime work and the composite work, so they said they really wanted one. I mean, it was a great place to do it outside, but you can't really tell, but it's really raining, really quite hard. Kenny said, I'd love a picture of the piano. I was like, okay, do you play the piano? He's like, no, not at all. I was like, would you like to play the piano? He's like, I'd love to play the piano. So he's like, and he starts tinkering away, and he's like, you're not playing it, are you? So it's a baby grand piano, so I asked Abby, I was like, Abby, would you mind getting on it? And she was like, yeah, why not? So she lay on top of the piano, and again, this is a composite, so it's probably 15 to 20 images all laid on top of each other. There's obviously quite a lot of direction that goes into this, with asking Abby how to sit, and the composition, just getting it right as well, and the light. But again, it's quite easy to set your cameras up on an interval, shoot every like 2 seconds or something, and you just run around with the light in a way that makes it look like this.
Amazing. And so with because she's really nicely posed, is that just working with her there and then to try to make it look good? And
again, it's kind of one of those things that she could have sat in any way, she could have stood in any way, and she would look great. So it was just like, can you really look really elegant? You mean like this? It's like perfect.
Amazing.
So this was inspired by Andy Gaines, actually. Really spookily talking about this now, but Andy took a picture of me behind like 2 doors up studios. You know, the up studios has like the barn door type thing. Yeah. And he took a picture of me there, and I was like, oh, I'd love to take a picture of that. I'd love to take that type of picture. So this is at Babington House, and behind these like net curtains is like quite a big open space. So I asked Leanne just to go and stand in there and just pull the curtains just slightly too. And I'd been taking this picture in bridal prep because I'm stood on a bed and I could see the light, the chandelier. And I'd already taken this picture a few times of girls just getting ready and playing with the lights, turning the lights on and off and see what they look like. They were obviously very yellow, so it had to be a black and white picture. Because you've got quite a lot of daylight, so I couldn't get the colour version the way I wanted it. But I just love the composition. I just love the quietness of actually which was a very busy room. It just ticked lots of boxes for me.
Yeah, nice. And what about editing? Quite a bit of to get it that black, is it?
Yeah, there's obviously got the fair bit of dodge and burning going on, but other than that, that's how it was.
Nice.
So, who takes a cake shot? I love cake. I love cake shots. But I don't generally publish them. But this was one of the, again, just like, this is all natural. The smoke is from the DJ just setting it all up. The cake was there, the lights were there. The lights was obviously swinging round. And it was just like, this is such a simple picture in my head. And I was like, we have to make this work. So, yeah, just waiting until the light kind of swung round. I was taking lots of the pictures of people doing stuff in the light, and then as soon as we could see the light go over the cake, it was like, everyone get out of the way. I need to take a picture of the cake.
So, Ash Davenport, NineDots Wedding Photographer of the Year, 2019.
Thank you very much.
Cheesy smile at the camera.